all the other stuff that you do.
Yeah, of course. I know I have the habit of like jumping right into work. It's just like a straight punch.
Yes, same.
But so I am Laura. I'm located here in San Diego, and I have been working in the health and fitness industry since 2012, so almost 10 years now, which is really exciting and also bewildering to say. I don't know how time has gone by so quickly.
Right.
I still think
Yeah.
of myself as being young. And I mostly work with athletes, specifically runners. I have been a runner, I would say, my whole life because I played soccer, so there's running involved with that. But
Yes.
started competitively running in high school, and a lot of my passion with Pilates actually came from having a series of injuries in my body just from the various sports that I was playing. And Pilates was the thing that I truly found that helped to not only alleviate the pain that was in my body, but also give me the body awareness that I needed to be
Yes.
performing at the level that I wanted to perform at. And more recently, after having hip surgery, I've been having a little bit more of a passion on helping injured athletes being able to overcome that obstacle of the mental aspect of recovering from an injury, as
Yes.
well as some of the strength components that come from, or that help with maybe alleviating some of the imbalances that cause the injury or imbalances that are happening in the body because of the injury. So that's a little
Yes.
bit about me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So how long ago was your hip surgery?
It was in 2015, October of 2015.
Yes.
And it was such a headache getting it diagnosed, because it originally was diagnosed as just a bursitis situation. So
Yes.
that's another thing that I talk a lot about on my page is some of the mental aspects that come with an injury, and also really like you are the one that's in your body and being an advocate for
Yes.
your
Advocate for your
body
own health.
when you're speaking to a medical professional, because I knew
Yes.
that something was wrong and I had to go to 3 different doctors before I eventually got diagnosed with my labral tear. It ended up being this huge, like much bigger tear than what they originally anticipated it was. And I am sure that it was because of how long it took for it to get diagnosed. Um,
Ouch.
yeah, yeah.
Sounds
So it has been a
painful.
process. It has been a
Yeah.
process, but I am on the up and up and training for my second half marathon currently.
Good for you.
Yeah, yeah. Are you a big
Nice.
runner, Martin? I know that you were into football, right?
Yeah, yeah. I played university football, like high school football, the whole thing. So anything I did after that was like just to support that. So I mean,
Mhm.
I did run a little bit. I did a little bit of martial arts. I did a little bit of squash, like a little bit of basketball. But anything was just to make me better at football. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like I could say I'm a runner or I'm a boxer or I'm you know, any of those things. So yeah, so I've done it. I've trained so many people for Ironmans and marathons and all that stuff, and I'm like, good for you. I'll help you. I ain't doing it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I know. Half marathon is kind of like where I like tap out in terms of endurance training. Even
yes.
currently, I'm like, oh my God. Like last week, I just did an 11-mile run, and I was like, remind me again why I wanted to do a half marathon, like why I wanted to do this. But I
That's so
say that in
funny.
jest
Yeah.
because I do love the mental aspect of it. And for me, especially having come back from an injury, being
Yes.
able to show myself the strength that I'm capable of since that injury. It's just like a huge confidence and empowerment boost for me. So
For sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Have you ever had to overcome a major injury?
No, fortunately.
Oh.
Like honestly, that's one of those things. Like I see like even my friends who have played football, like they have arthritis and their shoulders are jacked up and stuff. Like I like unscathed, like like no like major injuries. So like I'm so grateful for that as well. Like and I think that actually I was talking with Andrew, the owner here, about just my admiration for you in terms of working people come through injuries and like you're saying, like empowering people and giving them confidence to like I like that and I
Mhm.
like helping people with that, but it's not my like passion. Like if I had like 9 clients in a row that were injury like corrective exercise, I would feel like that was just like, it wouldn't be, I'd be very tired at the end of the day for that. Like, I mean, it's not, it doesn't give me energy to do as much as it's interesting and it's exciting and
Yeah.
it's encouraging. It doesn't give me energy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
And
mean?
I think that that is something that is super important to highlight, because I have been hearing more recently how people want to get more into the clinical side of Pilates, or they want to be
Yes.
in more in that recovery side. And I think it's so important to, at the end of the day, think about like what not only your passion is, or maybe even like where you see that there's a need, but
Hmm.
also think of like, how are you going to feel at the end of the day? Are you going to be
Yes.
energized? Because when you are doing what you're meant to do, your energy will just radiate forward. You will feel
Yes.
uplifted versus feeling depleted. And that's a really important thing to listen to in any field that you're working in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I never thought of it that way. Like, I always ask people, like, what makes you come alive and all those things, but I never stopped to think, okay, at the end of the day, how do you feel? Like, can you assess that on your days and look at the days where you had certain people and how did you feel? You know, there's days that I feel like, okay, I should probably go home sometime, but, and there's other days when I'm like, okay, I can't wait to get home. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so there's a sense of which one is. Yes, like Explore Plaza, beautifully said. That's exactly it. I think we need to um, evaluate those things, and yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, corrective exercise isn't it for me as much as I
And
en
that's
masse.
okay. That's
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
if you have someone that needs it, go ahead and send them to me.
I will, no doubt. But then that's, well, let's talk about even like weight loss clients, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's one of those things too where
Yeah.
I have one of my colleagues loves working with people who have lost a lot of weight, and
Hmm.
they love the psychology of it. They're so
Hmm.
interested in it. That sort of thing for them, that gives them the same energy as me, as you know, for me introducing someone to movement.
Yeah.
Where, you know what I mean? Like, some people just can't stand when, like, you know, you start doing exercise and then they're starting to talk and they go for water and they take 10 minutes to come back for water because they're like, they just don't want to be there from an
Yeah.
exercise perspective, right? So that kind of thing gives me that thrill, and just letting them finally see that light bulb just go off and it makes
Yeah.
sense in their body. That's the same way they are with weight loss clients or
Hmm.
someone with corrective exercise. So I think when we get to that place and understand who that person is that makes us come alive, and then how we love working with those people, it makes the whole experience of being in this field like so much better.
Definitely, definitely. And it reminds me too, like that is going to be the thing that keeps us as teachers from burning out. And so
Yep.
I think sometimes, especially as new teachers that come into the field, we think that we just have to teach whoever wants to take from us. And
Yes.
I like it's okay to refer out to another
Mm-hmm.
colleague, because it is not like, I know that I don't necessarily want to work with a big book of business of pre and postnatal clients. Like,
Yes.
I don't have a baby. I don't want to have a baby. Like, it's not really something like
Right.
that brings me joy to help a prenatal woman across their journey. But I know that there's other people in the field. Like, I know that there's a Pilates instructor that's also a certified doula that can help
Mm-hmm.
this prenatal client or postnatal client more than what I can give them.
Yes.
Yeah, putting a little caveat on that though, like if it's a postnatal client that wants to get back into running now,
Right.
because now you've added in that sport element of them wanting to do something, like go back
Mm-hmm.
to something that they love. It's just really interesting to be introspective on what you're interested in, and that's going to help to also put forward your best self, your best programming for your client as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Yeah, and there's another kind of layer to it too, which is when, how can I put this? You can be passionate about something, but not really good at it.
Mm,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a sense of like, there has to be this intersection of what you're good at, what you're skilled at, and what you love to do.
yeah,
So you know what I mean? So like, say for example, and this it probably isn't your case, but like you've had like a hip injury or hip surgery and recovery and stuff. And then you may say, okay, now I'm going to be like the hip surgery recovery specialist. And like, that may not be your thing, right? Like, so
Yeah.
listening to that side of it too, just because you went through it doesn't necessarily mean that that's your life calling now. It could be
Yeah.
just a season, you move on to other stuff, right?
Yeah, and I definitely love that you said that too, because I was just speaking with someone earlier this week about exactly that, about niching down to specifically talking about my hip injury, and where I feel more called to talk about Pilates and personal training is from the perspective of, no, I had an injury that kept me from doing something that I
Yes.
love to do, and it was
Yes.
heartbreaking for me. Like, it took me
Mm,
through a huge downward spiral that then led to some like emotional eating stuff, to
hmm.
being like seclusive and not being social anymore, and just like the things that
Hopelessness.
transpired because of this hip injury.
Yes.
Like, that was not a fun place for me to live in, and I know that that's not something that's exclusive to just me. I think injury
Right.
depression is not something that, I mean, I'm glad that mental health and the push for for normalizing talking about
Wellness.
mental health is
Yes.
becoming more popular. But I feel like that having the identity of being an athlete and then having it taken away from you, like,
Hmm.
that is the thing that I feel more connected with. And then
Yes.
I am blessed that I did have the experiences, not just in the various injuries that I've had, but also having started in the health and wellness injury from working in a physical therapy clinic. I do
Right.
have the background of seeing various injuries, like seeing like what the process looks like for an Achilles repair, or various knee surgeries, or rotator cuff repair. So I do have various experience and tools outside of just the hip. And
Yes.
I mean, I if people think of me as being
Hmm.
the hip girl, that's great. But I would like to think that I'm more than
Not a
just the
one-trick
hip girl.
pony.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And actually, I actually, it's funny that Explore Applies said that injury depression. I wrote that down too. It is a great phrase, and it is illuminating, as she said. Um, and because of the mental health push that we're in right now, it's good that it starts to normalize mental wellness,
Yeah.
um, and recognizing, much like your feet or breathing, that your mental state is something that we take for granted until it's slightly off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I saw a little bit earlier, it happened a little bit earlier in our conversation. Someone was asking a little bit about, let's see if I can scroll up and find it.
How do you keep a healthy mindset during injury recovery?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So I
I was
feel
going to
like this
circle
is a,
back to
yeah, I
that.
feel like this is a good time to chat about that. But it definitely was a process. I definitely could have asked for more help during my hip surgery side. I also had an injury right after that where I broke my hand, and that was when I
Oh
really
boy.
started to dive into a little bit more of um, first of all, asking for help. When I had my hand injury, I did tell my doctor that I was seeing at the time, like, this is something that I'm struggling with, and I
Yes.
need help outside of like what I can provide for myself and what my
Mm,
significant other can assist me with.
yes.
And so asking for help, whether it's like from a friend, a medical professional, and seeking out the tools that best work for you. For me, what I did a lot more, I'm kind of more independent. So the tools that I did was getting references on like what podcasts to listen to, what different types of audible books to listen to, and
Yes.
listening to the different mental health wellness tools and tips that those said books recommended. And so that was the route that I took.
Okay. Just
And
looking for
yeah,
strategies.
yeah, different strategies, and some of those strategies
Thanks, Terry.
I still keep it in my morning routine, because
Yes.
it just helps with overall mental well-being
Hmm.
to just begin with.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah,
It's prehab instead of rehab at that point, right? When you keep it
yeah,
in there, it's something you continue with.
yeah, exactly. And same could be said with Pilates. Once it brings you back from that injury, then it's the prehab that helps keep you strong and prevent you from having another injury as well.
Right, exactly. It's funny, like, every time someone says something like that, I remember I was doing one of those shopping channel gigs, and we are doing, a chair, like a Pilates Pro chair.
Hmm.
And so like one of the hosts was introducing someone to it and showing all the ab exercises and things you could do in it. And they were like, well, this is awesome. Like, how long do I have to do this for?
Yeah.
And she's like, forever. Like, you don't just do it until you get a six pack and then just leave it alone. Like, you do Pilates like till further notice. Like, you don't just do it until you get your first goal and then just shelf it, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I would love to, I also have this like secret passion of wanting to help other teachers work in this realm as well, because I think that some of the like ways that we communicate with our clients and like helping them to take them not just through the journey of getting them from like I have pain in my shoulder and then I want to not have pain, and then how do
yes.
you communicate with them like, okay, well now like this is what you need to keep doing in order to
Mhm.
sustain it, and whether that's with
Yes.
me or whether that's on your own, like this is a practice. It's not,
Yes.
it's not like physical therapy. It's not like 12 visits then you're done.
Right.
It's a continuous practice. And what's really cool about it is that like now you have no pain, and now if you keep doing it, think about some of the other things that you can do and start to accomplish if you continue to do this.
Right. Well, there's that continuum and that dialogue around moving from pain-free to optimal health. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to just be not hurting anymore. You want to be able to move optimally. You want to be able to do what you want your body to do.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. And so like for me, going back to the hip injury, my goal was not just to like I want to run. It was okay, before I had my hip injury, I had these bucket list goals of wanting to do a half marathon, of wanting to do a triathlon. So it's not like I'll be thankful if I can just like run for 20 minutes on the street. It's like
Yes.
no, like I still want to like do those other items. When I broke my
Right.
hand, it wasn't just like I hope that like I can like hold something in my hand again. It's like, no, I want to continue having the lifestyle that I had before. I want to go
Right.
zip lining. I want to do whitewater rafting. I want to do paddle boarding and
Hmm.
not get tired when I'm holding whatever the paddle, I guess. Like
Yeah.
it's not it's not just about setting that like I don't want to say a foundational goal. So it's not just about that
Yes.
foundational goal. It's about like living the best life that you could possibly live. Like you shouldn't
Yes.
be limited because of the injury that you have.
You're instilling hope in people at that point. Like, you almost have
Yeah.
to rephrase it. So, okay, this is our checkpoint. This isn't our
Yeah.
goal. This is a checkpoint. And once we get this mobility in your hand, now we can get back on track. Or even like, I say to my clients sometimes too, like if we're still going in the same direction. Like whether there's this dip or injury or whatever, we're still going that way. So once we get back up to the main road, we're going to keep running. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Definitely.
Real Yoga Cat has a question here. Can you speak to footwork? I personally love feet, my favorite part of the body.
What do you want to know, Yoga Cat?
I know. I know.
Like how
Yeah,
do
so just
I incorporate footwork, or like how I get my clients to love footwork? Is
sure,
that the
yeah.
real question? It's like how do we get our clients to like love the things that they need for their bodies?
Right, exactly. I think, for my clients right now, like they're at a point because they've seen me get excited about certain things and I think about them and all these different things. They're at a point where if I just say, okay, I was thinking about this, we're gonna focus on that, like their game. They're down for whatever at this point because there's that trust there.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just a baseline. Just build trust with the people, and then you can say, like, hey, we're doing handstands all day today, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go. You know?
Yeah, I think that people are more interested in the way that we think about the exercises that we're giving them
Yeah.
than we give them credit for. And
Yes.
when I first started teaching, and you can tell me if this is a similar experience that you had, but when I first started teaching, one of the feedback that things that I got early on from the first studio that I worked at was people don't care. People don't care about anatomy. People just like want to come in for this kickback workout. So like you don't have to tell them all the things that you're telling them. And I was like,
I
oh,
don't know about that.
well,
Yeah.
I like helping people learn about their body. I feel like it's
Yes.
important for them to know about how their body works, not just like giving them this fiery sensation in their triceps. Like
Right.
that's not something that motivates me. Like what was your experience stepping into the wellness field? Were you a personal trainer before a
Yeah.
Pilates instructor? Okay.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I've been in personal training since 2002 and kind of had my clients on that journey the whole time. So yeah, I'll also say she was told that too. But from a counseling perspective and coming from that world as well, one of the lines that I've kind of taken over into the personal training world is when you're meeting with someone and say you're working with somebody, one of the lines when you open, say I want to introduce something new is like, I was thinking about you this week when I found this article, or I was thinking about you this week when this came across. I want to use this strategy today. And it's not just like you're downloading all the information in the world for this person. It's like, hey, I did this foot workout this week and I thought about you and your injury. So because of that, we're going to try this today. So there's a new level of investment that the client has in you because they recognize that you're invested in them outside of their 1 hour,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And it's all in that wording. So now I can introduce footwork, I can introduce breathing, I can introduce whatever. And it all comes from that thing. It's like, hey, I was thinking about you throughout the week when I did this.
Hmm.
And we're going to start working on some thoracic extension for your posture this week.
Hmm.
Okay, that sounds good because they recognize, wait a minute, you don't just care about me in the hour, you care about me all the time and you cross my mind. So that sort of thing. So I feel like, as I've been learning things and just finding the words to let people understand how invested I am in them, that results in more buy-in and allows us to move forward with the things that I'm excited about because it's what I think is going to be a better fit for them. And it also shows that we're always learning. Like as we're continuing to learn and we're showing them and we're educating people. And I was going to say this earlier too. It's one thing just to get people like to get them doing burpees for an hour. They can get a great sweat on, they can get burning quads and
Hmm.
that's it. And it's another thing to educate them on their body and educate them on what a good workout looks like. Is there a
Hmm.
dynamic warm up? Is there some kind of system to the Pilates? Is there a reason why we went from this exercise to that exercise or why we stopped doing this and that sort of thing, right? So when you put all those pieces together, then people will care and they'll recognize the fact that you care about them. And it is more than, I think people do care. I think it may look like you're just a turn and burn, like let's just get them sweating and send out the door so they feel like a good workout, but they get more out of it and they stay with you longer when they feel like they're being educated on their body along the way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I like everyone likes to be thought of. So the fact
Yes,
that
right.
you're letting your client know that you're thinking about them outside of just the hour lets them know that like they're not just a number to you. It lets them know like, oh, my instructor cares about me as a human and they're invested in my journey too. Like they really do want
Yes,
to see me get to this destination that I want to get to. And I
absolutely.
think too, adding on to what you mentioned, I think also not being afraid of like also telling them about a little bit about the anatomy if that's something that's like in your
Sure.
wheelhouse as well, because that for me in my experience has helped motivate my clients to like if I say okay, this is something that you can do on your own at home and it's going to help you with like ABC because of XYZ, then it'll be
Yes.
like, oh, okay, like
Hmm.
if I like do this stretch for my neck, like it's gonna help me with some of this shoulder and scapular pain that I'm having because it'll
Yes.
release the tension. Like not
Right.
just I want you to do this stretch or I want you to do this exercise at home and then I'll see you next Friday. It
Right.
like giving them like the reasoning why you're asking them to do that. Like I have had more success in my clients doing certain stretches or certain exercises on their own time.
Sure. And Kathy's comment there is so powerful as well. Like also informs our clients so they don't get spoken over by doctors, etc., as easily. When you give them a vocabulary around what's happening in their body,
Mm-hmm.
then it's so much easier for them to advocate for their own health when it comes to stuff like your hip injury. And oh,
Yeah.
it's just a strain, just go home. It's like, no, actually, I think I did do this to this, right? They can speak to it in a more intelligent way, which will, help them to be able to navigate those situations. So
Yeah,
that's such a good point.
definitely. Definitely. I think too, in terms of like helping our clients be advocates for themselves, is like encouraging them to have a list of questions that they want to ask their doctor when they go into the office, because so often, like, the doctor is in, the doctor does what he wants to do, and then he goes
Yes.
out and he sends in his PA, or he sends in whoever is going to be the next person that we're seeing, and then
Yeah.
we don't get the opportunity to tell them the thing that was like in our mind, because we go from, okay, I want to ask him this, to then being like the answer of their questions, that then it's like our question slips. But if we have it like
Yes.
in the notes section of our phone, then we're like, oh wait, no, I have this like thing that I want to
Yes.
ask you.
Yeah.
And then recently I was listening to this webinar too, like, and I don't know why this wasn't something that I had ever thought to do, but I felt more empowered by it, was like, we as instructors, like, asking our client, like, if they have a physical therapy clinic appointment, or if they're going to go see their orthopedic doctor or whoever, like having us write a little note for the doctor so that they can see a little like what we're working on with them, what we're trying to
Yes.
progress with them, and helping to start the dialogue between us, because we are in the wellness profession, so helping to start the dialogue between us and their medical professional as well,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
getting more also in sync with what they want too, the doctor wants ultimately, right? We're the doctor and us, we're collaborating ultimately on this human, to help this human get to this optimal state of being.
Laura, that just sent like this cascade of thoughts for me. Um, just absolute cascades. So Joel's comment, get clients out of a victim mentality. Yes. Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Now, this is the cascade that just came as you said that. A lot of times when I have clients who have injuries, what happens is I'll say to them, that's great. Or even here, like we'll talk to the physiotherapist, we'll talk to the chiro or whoever it is. And then when I find out what they're doing, we'll collaborate and then we can work, or I'll get them to reach out to me and all these different things. And we figure out this way to work collaboratively, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said though is me send them a note.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're changing the power structure, we're changing the value structure. So it's not like me thinking, well, the doctor, the very important person, is telling me what to do with this person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling them what I'm doing and they can work with it. We can work collaboratively, but it doesn't have to be like I'm waiting from the doctor on high to tell me what to do and I can work around them. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I am working with them. I could tell you what we're doing and you can
Mm-hmm.
then talk with them and we can figure. It's a different value structure to the work that we're doing and putting
Yeah,
value on what we do, as
exactly.
opposed to thinking that we're this lowly Pilates instructor waiting for this person with a doctorate to tell us what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting piece about the value of the work that we're doing in this collaboration piece, as opposed to just a collaboration piece that just was triggered for me there.
Yeah, definitely. And like, too, we have, at least with the way that I see my clients, which is usually around like 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times a week, depending on what their goals
Mhm.
are, we're seeing them more regularly
That's
than
the
the
point.
doctor is.
Right. The doctor's seeing them like 15 minutes every 2 weeks, and you're seeing them 3 hours a week. Who has more knowledge of this person's body? They may have more anatomical knowledge, but I know this body better.
Yes, exactly. And I think too
So,
that will help. I think that'll help teachers in general gain more confidence in
yes.
the value of what they have to offer as well.
Yep.
Mhm. Exactly. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So
I hope you all are feeling as empowered as I am right now, because like that is one of those things where like you feel like, okay, I know my stuff, but these guys have gone to school for a long time, so I'll defer to them. It's like, no, no, no. I know this body better than you know this body. So let's talk.
yeah,
Right.
definitely. And I think that sometimes people get like maybe they feel like they don't have enough anatomical knowledge to compete with a
Compete with.
doctor.
Yes.
However, Pilates the way that Pilates is created is a very intuitive system for the body, and we go through, I think, so much more training than a personal trainer does. And I say that from the perspective of having also gotten a personal training
Yes.
certification.
Right.
I got my personal training certification after Pilates, and I was blown away at how much more in depth my certification was for
Interesting.
Pilates
Yep.
than with the training. And so I a little bit of it, I think, is imposter syndrome takes over everyone, and so we always discredit ourselves more than what we should. But I
Yeah.
mean, we have to remember how many hours we spent, how many practical hours, how many study hours, how many practice teaching hours we spent
Hmm.
to help humans move their body.
Right.
And that is, I think, sometimes more valuable than just like reading out of a book and being able to be like, this is where like an upper trap is, this is a lower trap, this is your rhomboid, this is
Yes.
like what's a who's it, like
Yeah.
we have so much more intuitive knowledge about the body than we give ourselves credit for.
Yes, exactly. Joel's comment, anatomical knowledge does not make clients healthier. Smart movement does.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if I can go to my car analogies, as much as, I love cars, it's like going to, if I have a problem with my car, I don't call the engineer at Volkswagen to find out what's wrong with it. I go to the mechanic,
Yeah,
right? So the mechanic
exactly.
knows the inner workings of my vehicle, but the engineer at VW may have 15 letters behind his name. Who do you go to?
Yeah, definitely. I love using car analogies as well. But yeah. Total California girl.
There
No,
you
no,
go.
no. Yeah, I know.
I actually want to circle back to something that we said earlier too, when you're talking about the about your hip injury. It seems like we're just
Yeah.
talking about your hip the whole time, and not wanting to be known as like the hip girl, the hip
Okay.
injury girl, whatever it is. There's something to be said for our story and the way that we
Yes.
craft our story so that we connect with the people we really want to connect with. So I like the fact that you didn't stay with this is my injury, I recovered. It's more like this is what I was doing. This is how
Mm-hmm.
I can get back to what I'm doing. This is what I love to do. And how do we handle and overcome the obstacles to get you back to that path of doing what you love, right? So,
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think we are the creators of our own story, and we get to market ourselves however we want to. That's like the really exciting thing about what we do. And in this world of virtual, like, like we have the privilege of sharing about ourselves, sharing about Pilates in a way that is unique, that then can help resonate with those that we were meant to work with.
yes.
And I think that that's why I have so much fun teaching about Pilates. I don't think that it's like it's not like by accident why I have so many runners that I work with, or even people in general with injuries that I work with. They're not all injuries in relation to the hip. I
Hmm.
have people that I help with shoulder injuries, low back injuries,
Right.
knee, whatever. It's because they resonate with the short story that I'm
With the story.
sharing about,
Yes.
like I hurt myself. I couldn't do something that I love to do, and I defied the odds of what my doctors told me because I didn't want to quit, and because I found someone that believed in me. And like, I believe in you. I think that you're capable of more than what someone that sees you for this split second says. And I want to help you get to where you want to be too. So let's
Yes.
do this together.
Sold. Sign me
Yeah.
up. Explore Pilates comment there to validate. My friend's dad used to call himself a glorified mechanic. He was an MD. So there you go. Yes, and really, really, cat, you offer hope. Exactly. Like we're
Yeah.
brokers in hope. That's exactly what we're doing. Like I strongly believe that. That's very good.
Yeah.
Yes. I was gonna say something else. Oh, changing subjects real quick here. Did you do agency with Leslie Logan? Like, are you part
I
of
do.
that? That's
Yeah.
right. Okay. Yes.
You
Is that
know,
where the ICA came from too?
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I love working with Leslie. I think that she is also like she's also a hope fairy. Like
Hope Fairy.
she's my hope fairy godmother.
That's too funny.
I mean, yes, she can also help you with your business, but I think that what her true gift is instilling hope and belief and confidence of what we already have innately in us as well. Just like
Yes.
we as humans, like I do feel like we were created to survive. So we can come back from like if we're breathing, if we're still standing, we can come back from anything that's thrown at us too. I truly think that the missing component of it is just having the belief that you can do it. And that was
Yes.
my biggest struggle when I was overcoming my various injuries. Was that like I was 24, and when I was misdiagnosed, my doctor was just like, well, I guess you're just going to have to stop being active if everything bothers you. And I was like, no, I'm 24. What do you mean I can't be active anymore? Like, I
Yeah.
can't even boogie board at the beach. I live in San Diego. And
Yeah.
like, so I think so easily we hear that no from one person, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden it starts rippling and cascading into the spiral whirlwind.
Because we believe
And
it.
that's where the being an advocate for yourself and having a partner or a friend or someone to stand by you. Like I was so blessed that my fiance boyfriend at the time was like, no, let's keep going, let's get a second opinion, let's get a third opinion. Like having someone that was like, that doesn't sound right, like I think that you should keep going.
Yes.
I was so thankful to have that. Even when I had my hand injury, I broke my hand, complete fifth metacarpal break. It just like broke off the rest of my hand.
Ouch.
And after that surgery, there was something that was missed from when I broke my hand. And same thing, like I felt like there was something that was wrong. And like I had to be the advocate for myself to get another MRI to see that there was this whole other ligament that had been torn. And if I hadn't been the advocate for myself, then I would have been classified as being disabled, and I would have lost my job. Like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so like having someone,
No.
having a partner to be like, no, like trust your gut, trust your intuition, it's talking to you for a reason. And so like that's what I hope to be for my clients, is to be like that light of hope that can help them trust in themselves and their bodies. That's what I hope to give them, not just strengthening them and taking them through a workout. I'm helping them to trust their bodies and feel more
Yes.
empowered in their body, because they have that strength within them. They just don't know it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. So your foot workshop is coming up towards this Sunday.
Yes.
And what other virtual stuff do you have going on, like just on a regular, like virtual classes that people could jump into and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I do teach one-on-one virtual sessions, and I'm doing this pop-up class on Sunday. It's my first time doing a group virtual pop-up like this, so
Yes.
I'm really excited to try it out and see how it goes. And I will be excited to host more in the future. I would like to, like I said, my secret goal is to be able to help teachers become more confident in working with their clients with injuries. And so
Amazing.
maybe you'll
It's
see
not a secret
more.
anymore.
Yeah, it's not a secret anymore. My cup is blown. Thanks,
Yes.
Martin.
Yeah, no worries. That's what we're here for.
So hopefully you'll see more like mini workshops on in relation to Pilates and various injuries that I see with
Sure.
athletes, and helping helping teachers be just more confident in the programming that they use. Because like I think that a lot of times we just want someone external to validate us, and I think that there's a lot of people that have more power like in their teaching abilities than they give themselves credit to.
Agreed.
And so I would like to help to instill that confidence in them as well. But currently, I'm working on a course that will launch maybe in the fall, maybe in the winter, to help injured athletes go through that journey of recovery. It's geared right now towards runners. So taking them through not just the strength and conditioning they need to go from their injury to running, but also hopefully including some nutrition, some mental mindset work in there as well.
Yeah.
So I have that kind of like in the construction yard. But currently one-on-one virtual sessions and my pop-up course, it's this Sunday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Do you feel that sense of accountability that comes with the saying that out loud? Like, oh, I gotta actually finish those now. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, I've been talking about my course for the past week, so there was no backing out of that one.
yes.
But the construction lot idea, I have been working on it since the beginning of the year now. So I think that the more times that I vocalize it, the more power I give myself in doing it.
Yes.
I say that like I want to be a teacher that helps other teachers become more confident in helping athletes or work through their injuries. And I say that because like this course that I have in my mind that I know is so valuable and so helpful to people out there, it's a little fear-based on why I haven't completed it yet. So the more times I say it, the more power I give myself to complete it, because I know that I have like the experience, the testimonials from clients to give me authority in this space. And so now it's just like helping to reinforce my own belief in myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Well, we're cheering you on. I love the fact that you were just like, you're challenging. That's a runner mentality right there. Like, I am going to run one more mile.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what you're doing right now.
One more song, 5 more minutes.
Right. Whatever it takes to that flagpole over there. Yes. I feel you. That was like the fastest 57 minutes. And I know you got to go. We're supposed to like finish 3 minutes ago. So I will let you jump. But Laura, thank you so much. It's such a great chat. I really appreciate you and all the work you're doing. It's so fun.
Thank you so much. It was so fun chatting with you as well. And maybe we can do this again in the future. That did go by really quickly.
Yes, we'll do it.
All right.
Thank you. I'll let you jump off. I'll say bye, everyone, because I know you have to legit go. So.
Bye.
All right. I just want to say thank you. Explore Pilates. I see Real Yoga Cat, Joel, Leslie Logan was on here earlier. Scoop Pilates is in as always. Really appreciate all you guys. Tomorrow, Miss Angela is on, and you'll see some posts about her and her amazing journey coming up throughout the day. And that is about it. Thank you guys for joining me once again. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's how we do. See you guys.